Chapter 5. Fryjacks, Black Eyes, and Papaya Jam. My best friend was a Belizean girl called Natalie who lived in my building. I sometimes called her Nats for short, and her mum was the reason I loved the smell of sweet papaya jam on salty, warm, and fluffy fryjacks in the morning. Fryjacks, a traditional breakfast in Belize, were fried pieces of dough, and Mrs. Peters was the best at making them. Since my mama couldn't cook, Mrs. Peters would hook Nats up with extra treats to share when we walked to school: fresh fruits, fryjacks, bacon, hard-boiled eggs, toasted tortillas with sugar and butter. And if it was a lucky day, Natalie would bring out enough homemade tamales for both of us. Natalie had a thick Creole accent that made her sound more Jamaican than Central American. Despite her African ancestry, Natalie's deep caramel skin, long black wavy hair, and dark doe eyes made her look East Indian, another part of her heritage. She had a way of always keeping her beautiful head of hair hidden beneath a ball cap. I never understood why I was attracted to her. A big fan of Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls, she was a tomboy who always dressed in her big brother's basketball hand-me-downs. She didn't like girl clothes and seldom wore a dress. The first time I saw her, I swore she was a boy. We met in the first grade after her folks moved into our building. She was in the hallway with her mom. I could tell she was in my grade, so I was like, "What's up, homie? What kind of toys you have?" She looked at me and frowned. "I'm not a boy, and no." Mrs. Peters smirked. "She is a girl, son. Her name is Natalie, and yes, you can come over and play anytime." "Mommy, no. He is dumb. I don't like him," Natalie said. "Hush, little girl. Be nice." "Sorry, Natalie. My name is Demetrius. I didn't know you were a girl. I like your shoes," I said. "Boy, bye. I can't," she repeated. "Natalie," her mother shouted. I walked past them feeling bad until I looked back and saw Natalie making a funny face. We both laughed. We became friends a couple of summers later when she joined my team for a game of kickball at school. And by the way, I didn't call her Nats because her name was Natalie, but because she hated gnats or anything with wings that stuck to her face, which could have gone for ants and cockroaches if they knew how to fly. Nats had a brother named Herman, a 16-year-old basketball kid who turned into a thug after he joined a gang and dropped out of school. Mrs. Peters knew he was bad news when he started selling drugs and robbing people. Herman's behavior had changed after his dad was deported, which meant Nats and I both wanted our fathers around. The only parents we had were our mothers. Natalie's mom was entirely unlike mine. Her mother loved her for any and everything she had done. My mother punished me for the things she assumed I did. One time, Mama gave me a whooping because she thought I hid her syringe. Geppetto needed to use the needle. He had type 1 diabetes and would have died without his insulin. She punched me in the face and accused me of trying to kill Geppetto. The next morning, Mama apologized. She didn't even remember what happened. When I left the house, Natalie snuck me into a bathroom and covered my bruised eye with some of her mother's Maybelline before we went to school. Mrs. Peters had no idea we used her makeup, but it wasn't the first time. Whenever Natalie and I walked to school together, which was only a couple blocks away, kids would tease us about being boyfriend and girlfriend since we hung out so much. I never knew there was a rule that said a boy and a girl couldn't be friends without going together. Even though I had a crush on Natalie, I never was sure about how she felt about me in return. How would I even know anything about being a boyfriend? I had seen it done on television, and it seemed like being a boyfriend was cool. Theo from The Cosby Show made it look good until he split up with Justine. Jack Tripper from Three's Company made it sound complicated because he had too many girlfriends. Steve Urkel from Family Matters was never able to get with Laura, and I didn't want to be like him. If Natalie were my girl, I would be the type of boyfriend Alfalfa was to Darla in The Little Rascals. Being around her always gave me goosebumps, and I knew if she ever kissed me, every hair on my head would stand at attention, sort of like how Alfalfa's hair stood up whenever Darla kissed him on the cheek. I wondered if any of my mother's sugar daddies kissed her the same way I wanted to kiss Natalie. I wanted to be her sugar daddy. I would have done anything to make her my sugar mama. Walking to school with Natalie was the best part of my day.